The Neighbor's Eid, a story of true sacrifice. Sara stood in her kitchen on the morning of Eid Al-Adha, watching her children Omar and Layla press their faces against the window. Across the street, their neighbors were preparing for the traditional sacrifice, a beautiful goat adorned with ribbons. "Mama, why don't we have a goat?" Omar asked. Sara's heart clenched. As a single mother working 2 jobs, she could barely afford their basic needs, let alone the cost of an animal for sacrifice. She had saved for months, but last week Omar had fallen sick, and the money went to his medicine instead. "Some years are different, Habibi," she whispered, fighting back tears. The sacrifice. That afternoon, Sara made a difficult decision. She opened her jewelry box and pulled out her most precious possession, her grandmother's gold bracelet, the only thing of value she owned. At the gold shop, the dealer examined it carefully. "This is beautiful craftsmanship. I can give you 800 rials." Sara's hands trembled. The bracelet was her last connection to her grandmother, who had raised her with stories of faith and sacrifice. But she thought of Omar and Layla's disappointed faces. "I'll take it." With the money, Sara hurried to the livestock market. But as she walked through the stalls, she overheard a conversation that stopped her cold. "Please, just until tomorrow," an elderly man, Abu Ahmed, was pleading with a seller. "My grandson is visiting from America for his first Eid Al-Adha. I promised him we'd perform the sacrifice together." "No credit," the seller replied firmly. "Cash only." Sara watched Abu Ahmed's shoulders slump. She recognized him, the quiet widower from her building who always smiled at her children but never had visitors. Sara stood frozen, the money burning in her pocket. She could buy a small goat for her family, give her children the Eid they deserved. She approached Abu Ahmed. "Excuse me." The old man looked up with tired eyes. "I couldn't help but overhear. What kind of animal were you hoping to buy?" "Just a small goat. My grandson Khalid, he's 12. This is his first time celebrating Eid in a traditional way. His parents divorced, and his mother brought him here to connect with his roots." Abu Ahmed's voice cracked. "I wanted to give him something meaningful." Without hesitation, Sara pressed the money into Abu Ahmed's weathered hands. "Please, take this. Buy the goat for your grandson." "Sister, I cannot." "You can and you will." Ibrahim's sacrifice wasn't just about obedience to Allah, it was about love. About giving what matters most for someone else's blessing. Abu Ahmed's eyes filled with tears. "But your children will learn something more valuable than any ritual," Sara said firmly. "They'll learn that the spirit of Eid isn't in what we sacrifice, but in who we sacrifice for." That evening, as Sara explained to Omar and Layla why they had helped Abu Ahmed instead of buying their own goat, there was a knock at their door. Abu Ahmed stood there with his grandson Khalid, a shy boy with Sara's children's curious eyes. Behind them were 3 families from their building, each carrying dishes of food. "After what you did today," Abu Ahmed said, his voice thick with emotion, "we realized something. The meat from one sacrifice is meant to be shared, 1/3 for family, 1/3 for friends, and 1/3 for those in need." "But we're not in need," Sara protested. "Sister," interrupted Mrs. Hassan from 2B, "we're all in need of reminding what community means. You sacrificed for a neighbor today. Let us sacrifice our comfort to celebrate together." As the families gathered in the building's courtyard, sharing the meat from Abu Ahmed's sacrifice, Sara watched her children play with Khalid and the other kids. Omar was telling the story of Ibrahim to the younger ones, his chest puffed with pride. And Prophet Ibrahim was ready to sacrifice what he loved most, Omar said seriously, just like Mama sacrificed her bracelet for Abu Ahmed's grandson. "But Mama," Layla whispered, tugging Sara's dress, "you didn't lose anything. Look how much we gained." Sara looked around at the impromptu feast, at neighbors who had become family, at her children learning that generosity multiplies rather than diminishes. Later that night, as Sara tucked her children into bed, Omar asked, "Mama, did we really celebrate Eid today? Even without our own goat?" Sara smiled, remembering her grandmother's words. "The greatest sacrifice isn't what you give up, but what you give away." We celebrated the real Eid, Habibi. Ibrahim's story isn't about a goat or a ram. It's about trusting that when we put others before ourselves, Allah puts blessings we never imagined before us. Like new friends? Layla asked sleepily. Like new family, Sara corrected, kissing her daughter's forehead. 3 days later, Sara found an envelope slipped under her door. Inside was her grandmother's bracelet and a note. Sister Sara, after asking around, I learned about your sacrifice. My grandson Khalid insisted we return this to you. He said his American mother taught him that heroes always get their treasures back. But more than that, you gave my grandson something priceless. The understanding that Eid Al-Adha isn't about the animal we sacrifice, but about the selflessness we discover in ourselves. Khalid asks if Omar and Layla can be his pen pals when he returns to America. He wants to remember this Eid forever. As Sara clasped the bracelet around her wrist, she finally understood what her grandmother had tried to teach her all those years ago. The essence of Eid al-Adha wasn't in the ritual itself, but in the willingness to sacrifice for others. Just as Ibrahim was willing to sacrifice for Allah, just as Allah provided a ram to sacrifice instead. True sacrifice multiplies blessings. True generosity creates family. True faith transforms ordinary moments into sacred memories. And in a small apartment building where strangers became neighbors and neighbors became family, the spirit of Eid al-Adha lived on, not in the sharing of meat, but in the sharing of hearts. Eid Mubarak.